I got really angry about this at the beginning of the first hour because during a break I saw Eric Holder, Napolitano, and others again lying and saying they never knew about Fast and Furious, about any gun running. And Paul Watson's doing an article on this right now when they're on record with press conferences 09 and 010 with Holder in Texas. I remember reading the article. And Paul's found it and is about to do an article on it. At Infowars.com, and he said, yeah, he blamed the Second Amendment for Mexico's problems and said, because we're tracking the guns into Mexico in our program, Fast and Furious. And now all the memos have come out, but we have the videos of this. So now they've gone back to Congress and said, well, my deputy knew, but I didn't know when he's been caught and the White House is running it. And it gets into so many other areas. Got a crick in my neck. It gets into so many other areas in the Sinaloa drug cartel case where the feds have declared national security and aren't denying that they gave Sinaloa the power to ship unlimited cocaine in and to ship guns to them. I mean, this is incredible. This is about controlling the drugs. This is a war over the drugs. And then they just wanted to backhand the Second Amendment and blame us for the carnage in Mexico. Well, needless to say, this is blown up in their face, but I wanted to bring these crooks down. Not just Obama, but the entire criminal system. 8 agencies involved in this. People who said they wouldn't stage 9/11 or wouldn't finance and protect the terrorists, bare minimum. This has killed more than 9/11, these guns. Now they're saying 60,000 dead in Mexican TV and Mexican newspapers. Our media says 40,000 plus in 3 years. I mean, this is serious business. And now it's spilling over here and killing citizens, cops, Border Patrol, you name it. There's another article out of the Examiner. Operation Armas Crusaders, DHS, or Armed Crusaders, DHS Napolitano's own Mexican gun trafficking program. So now they're spinning it, saying, well, we did talk about gun running programs, but those are other ones we have. See, it's just all part of a giant program. So we didn't perjure ourselves on Fast and Furious and Project Gunrunner. We have other ones. Yeah, you bet. It's a full-on war. Now, we've got a clip coming up of David W. Ogden. He was the Deputy Attorney General. And with him in the press conference is Napolitano. But that's coming up. This is in 09, admitting all of this. Okay? And then we have a clip we're going to play first of her last week before Congress, saying she doesn't know anything about this and never did. And we've got her in stinking press conferences. And I know there's memos that show they were running it and were in full command under her orders and holders. But the video, no one can argue with this, though. They're saying they knew nothing. I know nothing, as Sergeant Schultz would say. I love to imitate him, about gun running, period, and tracing it. Here she is caught. But here she is first being grilled last week.
You learned of Fast and Furious for the first time?
I learned of it after the death of Agent Terry.
And when did you learn that gun walking was part of Fast and Furious?
I would say sometime between his death and the early spring.
To your knowledge, has anyone ever communicated, or did anyone communicate with Mexican authorities that guns were being allowed to cross our border into Mexico in contravention of their gun laws?
I can only speak for communications that I know of, and I know of no such communications.
Yeah. So someone at the Department of Justice had to know about Fast and Furious for the T3 to ever have been approved, correct?
I just can't comment. I don't know that there was a T3 approved in Fast and Furious.
If there were a T3 approved in Fast and Furious, and there were, the Department of Justice would had to have known about it, correct?
I'm going to leave that for your own investigation, sir. I'm just not going to comment or go beyond what I know. And what I know is that after the death of Agent Terry, the Fast and Furious label became apparent, and we became knowledgeable about it. Obviously, there were problems with the operation. Obviously, it did not succeed.
All right, let's stop right there.
Inspector General.
She gets chewed out even more. It's up at prisonplanet.tv if you want to see the full report. Now, notice she said, we became aware of the Fast and Furious label. They're playing games. And now they've come out today confirming that, going, oh, we were running all of this. We were running all of this. It's just we had a different name for it. Oh, we were running guns and actually giving them to them. That was a different name. See, she's playing mind games here. Like Bill Clinton said, well, you lied about, is. And he goes, well, it depends on what is. Con artist behavior. Mind games. And we're trained to love mind games. So we're like, oh, good then. We got several clips. One of David W. Ogden, the Deputy Attorney General, and then she's behind him while he's speaking about the gun running program that she didn't know about until a couple years later. This is from 2009. I know on the newscast we had the date. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
DOJ's Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is increasing its efforts by adding 37 new employees in 3 new offices using $10 million in Recovery Act funds and redeploying 100 personnel to the southwest border in the next 45 days to fortify its Project Gunrunner, which is aimed at disrupting arms trafficking between the United States and Mexico. ATF is doubling its presence in Mexico itself, from 5 to 9 personnel working with the Mexicans specifically to facilitate gun tracing activity, which targets
these guys are too cowardly to go to Mexico.
Sources in the United States.
Oh, look! Hit pause for a minute, please. Now, back it up some. Now, again, they've also perjured and said they don't know anything about Project Gunrunner. Now, there is the Deputy Attorney General talking about Project Gunrunner with Mr. Napolitano, Cousin It, right behind him. And then she comes over to talk about it. This is 2009, and Paul Watson has an article on it. What was the headline? Janet Napolitano caught, Big Sis caught perjuring herself. He's got the dates and everything in there in the article from last week. She's got a new one coming out today with the latest perjury. But go back to the clip. Now she toddles over. The person funding streetlights that listen to you. The person that has Homeland Security sticking their hands down your children's pants. The person who ships tens of thousands of guns to drug cartels and gives them authorization to bring cocaine in. She now toddles over. Now, remember, I just showed you the clip where she knew nothing. Oh, but that was last week. A couple years ago, she did. Here it is.
The illegal weapons and their sources in the United States.
And then again, you see that she's with him there.
First for you. Can you tell us?
And then there's the question. Now, go to the other clip of her in the same press conference. That's the last clip. And then we have a still shot of the actual article that Paul wrote about this week. And tell people about that in closing. Here she is at that press conference in 2009 bragging about Project Gunrunner. Here it is.
But our department has a very broad mission, and we have to be able to multitask.
Yeah, destroying America.
And as we multitask, one of the things that has happened, one of the changes in the threat environment has been what is going on in Mexico.
Because you've been shooting guns in there.
How successful do you expect to be in this effort to clamp down on the trafficking of power going into Mexico?
Several things. One is, first of all, you've got to interdict the arms. You've got to stop them from going into Mexico. We're coordinating with Mexico because they can do more by way of southbound screening on their side of the border. But then the Department of Justice moving their agents down there, as David said, and increasing tracing. That will help us identify who is putting those arms into the arms, those guns into the arms of the traffickers moving south. And out of that, there can reasonably be seen more prosecution of actual arms dealers who are intentionally and knowingly putting arms into the hands of the smugglers. So that is part.
You know, she sounds like she's on something. I mean, I've just been around women that are pill poppers, and they talk like that. I mean, maybe that's just how she talks. I mean, just what a disgusting blob. What a disgusting, filthy enemy of America. Shipping guns into Mexico. And, of course, the North American Union documents, 2006, released in 2007, covered in Endgame, they say we'll use border crises to merge the countries. And then we're shifting to the threat down at the border. We're going to blame the Second Amendment in a few months. We're getting ready for that. Okay, let's show Watson's article here, and that was from March 24th, 2009. We got the date on that. We actually have Paul Watson's article on this, too. That's one of the shots. We'll put that on screen. That still of Paul's article from last week. If people want to know where they can go to find all of this information, or after the break, I'll get it for people. But that's one of the stills they brought over. They didn't label it for the guys, so we've got all these videos, all these documents, and they're not labeled is the issue. I saw one that was an actual article in there that was Paul's article about her caught perjuring herself. That was one of the ones here. I'll gun it right now, right here on Google. Watch this. Let me see. Big sis caught lying to... Oh, there it is. Yeah, Napolitano knew about Fast and Furious in 2009. DHS chief tells House committee she had nothing to do with gun running scandal when she helped launch precursor to the program in 2009, Operation Gun Runner. Yeah, just unbelievable. And again, they've come out today repeating the same thing. They've come out today doing the same thing, saying they knew nothing when all the documents are public, that they ran the whole thing with 8 agencies and it's drug dealing, it's everything. I mean, again, do you feel safe having a government this filthy, this criminal, this scum-filled? Yeah, there's Steve Watson's article. Big sis caught lying to the American people. Propaganda. Peace attempts to quell massive backlash against naked body scanners, TSA molestation. Okay, I mean, this is what, imagine if criminals took over society, they'd put up street lights listening to us, they'd grope our kids and train us we're prisoners, they'd try to take our guns, they'd put stuff in our water. I mean, anything these crooks can think of, they do.